This week on the Computer Chronicles, games. We'll show you 4 of the hottest new computer games. This is Neverhood. You've never seen a game quite like it. And Shattered Steel, the shoot-'em-up game that's the brainchild of 3 doctors. Want to be a woman? You can be Lara in this great new game called Tomb Raider. And get ready for the coolest multiplayer game you've ever seen, Diablo. Plus, we'll take you inside a usability lab to see how games are designed and to visit to the ultimate gaming event called the big one, a Quake Marathon. All this and Giles Online, this week's computer news, my pick of the week, all coming up next on the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by SoftSource Incorporated, publishers of Pro One software, educational software for young adults. And by Upside, the business magazine for the technology elite.
Hi, and welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee. Well, you know by now what a computer game is going to look like, right? The genre, the style of computer games has sort of been established, but just a minute, there actually is a new game coming out that has a totally different look from any game you've seen before, and that's your baby, Mark, which is the Neverhood. And the reason it's so different is you guys didn't use traditional computer animation, but claymation, right? Tell us why you decided to do that.
Computer-generated images are against our religion. We chose to do
the
it
claymation religion. Huh?
Yes, we chose to do our game in clay just so it would have that warmth and friendliness of being a real environment with real objects in it.
But what did it take to do that? I mean, I imagine that's harder than doing traditional computer animation in terms of labor.
It is, because the sets have to really be built and sculpted. The puppets have to be constructed and fabricated out of steel armatures and latex.
How much clay did it take to do this?
We used about 3 or 3.5 tons of clay.
Wow. And the other thing I like about the game is the music. Again, you don't have typical computer music in this either, do you?
No, we have real bouncy, friendly Dixieland jazz.
It's all acoustic music.
Yeah, we had our musician friend Terry Taylor compose and record live, and there's no MIDI sequencing or drum machines or synthesizers.
All right, let's go see what the game looks like. You know, this is where the game actually begins, Mark?
Yes.
So that's me, the Clayman?
This is Clayman. So you begin the game. This is when Clayman is newborn. He just wakes up in this room, and you don't know who he is, and he doesn't know who he is.
And the whole interface is just that mouse pointer, right? There's nothing else.
You just click on things, and Clayman does what you asked him to.
So obviously I'm trying to get out of this room here.
Yeah,
and
I've just pulled this little lever 3 times, which is enough to break down the door.
Now that animation is really, really delightful. It's such a cute looking. All right, so we're in our second room here, and now I got to figure out how to get out of this room?
Yes.
Now, there's this really dangerous looking thing right underneath there. If I jump, can you die in this game?
You can't die.
Looks like it.
But you're okay.
You just sort of pop, well, just clay,
yeah.
What the heck? Right?
Yeah, well, what you're doing is just building up a body of experience that you'll use later on in the game.
Now, so I got to figure out how to get out that next door?
Right.
Well, I would press the red button as my first instinct.
All right, let's click the red button.
So so again, the interface, just click on the button, he'll come over and do it.
Right.
Not the solution.
Yes, usually not the obvious solution.
How about the rings hanging from the ceiling?
Let's click on one and find out what happens.
So just click on the ring, he'll jump up and pull it. Nothing. How about that one that's sort of teasing me, that's hanging a little bit lower than the rest of them?
All right.
That's what you gamers think, right?
You're pretty sharp.
Opens the door.
Now I'll click the door to exit.
Not so easy. All right, so I got to do something with that Venus flytrap.
I'll give away the solution.
All right.
That's
help me out of room 2.
Push the Venus flytrap in underneath that teaser ring, and when you pull it down, he'll hold it for you.
So when I pull the same ring, Venus guy helps me, and now I get out into the next room. So this is, in this sense, it's sort of your typical kind of adventure game. I do have puzzles to solve, rooms to go to. But
yeah.
what's sort of the object of the game? What am I trying to do as Clayman?
Well, the game exists on several levels. It's accessible to anyone. Even a small child could just explore the world and not try to solve any of the puzzles or fulfill the ultimate quest. But for the serious gamer, you can skip the lighthearted entertainment part of it and just go straight for the puzzles.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go play this game. Thank you very much, Mark. All right, well, how do you design a good game? Well, if it's a kid's game, the answer is with a lot of research and testing up front. We visited the Learning Company to find out how they prepare for the release of a new game.
If you need to feel humble, just watch a child testing a piece of software and compare that to your last frustrating moment at the keyboard. It almost looks like a pleasant experience. The Learning Company of Fremont, California depends heavily on these junior users to design and refine their children's educational games. The company built a test lab with cameras and one-way mirrors to record every frown or smile, every twitch or sigh, and any other indication that a game is working or isn't.
What we're looking for are what we call the 3 E's: engagement, ease of use, and educational value. So what we're looking for is what they're clicking on, what we meant to happen when it clicked on, what we want to happen. We're also looking for how much fun they're having. We're looking for their face to light up. We're looking for them to be closer to the screen and looking at what's happening and not. What we're not looking for is them to be banging on the keyboard because they can't figure out what's happening next.
Game designers and educators can watch test sessions discreetly through the darkened glass, or review videotapes later to find the weak points in a new game. This session is testing a new time-telling game in a program called Treasure Math Storm. Details like the size of the clock's hands or the speed of the elves can make the game fun or frustrating. But above all, it has to teach something.
What we do know is that kids who have fun learning spend more time doing it, are more interested in what they're doing, and are more apt to continue it outside of the computer, outside of a particular textbook, outside of a particular experiment. So that's what we know we're getting by having kids play early on with the computer.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Giles Bateman.
Action games have come a long way from the early Apple II and Atari days, but in the era of Doom and Quake, what's left to do? Well, just wait and see what a trio of Canadian doctors has come up with. And you're one of the doctors, Dr. Greg Zeschuk. Can I call you Greg, Doc?
Oh, please do. I'm pretty informal.
We're in the computer world now. I'm not in your office.
My white coat's all long gone.
All right. How did a bunch of doctors, how'd you have time and an interest get involved in writing action computer games?
We've been game enthusiasts for many years, since we were young kids playing Pong all the way through medical school. And while we were in medical school, we actually started developing medical applications for teaching difficult concepts for use at the university. And as we did that, it sort of branched out. We sort of accumulated more technology, and before we knew it, we felt we could pursue one of our passions, which was making games. And so it just kind of happened, I guess, is the best way to describe it.
All right, so you guys are up there in Edmonton and come up with this game, Shattered Steel. What's kind of new and different about the game?
It's a little different than the standard games that fit specifically into one category. It more walks the line between the action category with the first-person shooters and the big robot.
So this kind of Mech Warrior meets Doom, right?
Something along those lines, with a bit of X-Wing and TIE Fighter mixed in. It takes a lot of our favorite aspects of games and puts them together.
All right, let's take a look at a little bit of Shattered Steel and show me how you play this.
Okay, right now I'm in the arming bay here. I've got my Warthog here. I can sort of flip through a couple of different robots. I'm on a difficult mission, so I got to put on my...
Okay, now where are we? Set the scene a second.
This is the 22nd century. You're a mercenary who flies around in a dropship.
Okay.
And you know your mission is to clear out a planet from various enemies that have taken over.
All right, so I'm picking my robot.
Yeah, I'm sticking on my weapons right now. I'm putting on some 70mm cannon. I'll put on some infrared missiles. I know I'm going to be in a bit of trouble here, so... And we'll go over to my shields, toss on a better reactor so I can run faster. This is my command module, and I can get information about the missions on this planet here. You can sort of notice the blue line where my path is, and my next mission is here. And you know, I can either get a voice briefing to tell me what's going on, the computer tells me, or else I can just jump right to it.
All right, let's get into battle here.
Oh, this is a big one. There's fighters coming from behind me. I have 2 allies that are on both of my sides, and we're facing off against a large enemy here. And it's going to be a lot of action right off the start as these flaming fighters start coming in. There are my napalm fighters on the left shooting the fireballs. One of my allies just walked in the middle of a fire. And there's the fighters up in front there. That's one of my enemies firing on them.
It's pretty clean, smooth-looking animation, considering, compared to the Doom type stuff here.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we worked quite hard in getting Shattered Steel to work well with slower frame rates that you find in some machines. Actually, you know, compared to a lot of the games out there, it works quite well. So you can see my allies just got destroyed. I've got one headless enemy here I've just destroyed. And if you look in the bottom right corner, you can see my radar, and I can follow along.
Quickly, Greg, you've got one thing. I mean, what's different here is the terrain is kind of alive, has physical characteristics. If you blow up a crater or something, there's a hole in the ground. Stuff happens, right?
Yeah, I can actually demonstrate that. I'll pick up my nuclear warhead.
Okay.
And here's my hill. There's a hill here. I can verify that.
Yeah.
And we'll shoot a nuclear weapon.
So you're
and now there is no longer a hill, and you should see a large wave of terrain coming towards me.
Okay, so there really are physical consequences to damaging your environment here.
No question. And if you look in, you can sort of see where the hill once was, a large, gigantic crater, and full of flames.
It's called shattered steel. Thank you. All right, well, the stereotype of computer gamers and games is that they're all about young males, right? Well, time for a little gender equality. So the hero in a brand new game called Tomb Raider is in fact a heroine. Is that a kind of conscious decision not to have this helpless little female that has to get saved, but kind of the tough warrior lady?
Oh, absolutely. Very much an Indiana Jane is our feel here. An Indiana Jones type of character is what we're really pushing forth.
All right, now your game is, again, it's kind of a mixture, right? It's a little bit of adventure game, but a little bit of the Doom type, 3D world, only from a third-person perspective.
Correct. Instead of using the first-person shooter games that you see a lot these days, we've incorporated a third-person where the camera sits behind the right shoulder of the character. And absolutely, we incorporate the action elements, some shooters, and then we also incorporate the adventure puzzle type elements.
All right, let's take a look now at Tomb Raiders.
Okay,
now, what's the story here, Gary?
The storyline behind this game is that you play Dr. Adventurer Lara Croft, and you're on a quest to find 3 ancient pieces of an ancient artifact called the Scion. Along the way, you're running across wolves, bats, bears, everything you can think of along the way.
She looks like a pretty sophisticated sprite you've got going there.
Oh, absolutely. She uses 2,000 frames of animation. This isn't motion capture, which is a lot different than what you've seen today. These are, it's a massive 3D moving real-time environment. Some of the special features you'll see here is that she actually does some swimming. So you're basically traversing through caves, tombs, tunnels, and the likeness.
So now, are there bad guys to blow up and bad guys coming to shoot me,
Absolutely. There's, of course, the typical animals that you'll see, and then there's also mercenaries that you will encounter along the way.
Now, there's sort of kind of a story here, too, right? I mean, doesn't she get, like, told information which isn't quite true, and she has to figure out, like, who's telling the truth and who's not and stuff like that?
Yes. Well, she's hired by a conniving businesswoman by the name of Jacqueline Natla to retrieve this first piece of an ancient artifact. Along the way, she's double-crossed, so she has to figure out what's going on, and she wants to actually solve the puzzle herself.
Now, is there any talking or dialogue? How does she deal with that part of the game?
Basically, the game is comprised of 4 massive worlds within 15 levels. In between the levels, there are cinematics that incorporate clues and that type of thing. However, there is not,
There's no dialogue.
There's no dialogue with other characters.
But I mean, how does she figure out that people are betraying her in the story?
When other mercenaries show up and they try to kill her.
Ah, okay. She thinks they're her allies, but they're not her allies.
Exactly.
Okay. It's action, action, action.
Absolutely.
All right. So it's called Tomb Raiders, and how long does it take to finish this game? Forever.
Forever. It's a very large game. Like I said, 15 levels, which some people don't think.
In 4 different worlds.
In 4 massive worlds, and this is just, I would say, a smidget of what the game actually is.
All right, Gary, thank you. All right, well, the hot new trend in computer gaming is multiplayer games in which you can play against opponents all over the world using the internet. We recently visited one of the premier multiplayer game marathons at a cyber cafe called Internet Alfredo in San Francisco.
You don't need much to play a computer game. Some software and a single player will usually do. But why play alone when you can battle the world? At a recent online tournament at San Francisco's Internet Alfredo, players teamed up to socialize, drink espresso, and play Quake on the internet. id Software, the game's publisher, released a new version especially tailored for internet play, and it's available on the net through Empath Interactive.
A lot of games heretofore have multiplayer extensions, but they were built really for LAN use. So that is, they're built for Ethernet connections where you're running it at, I don't know, 20, 30 megabits per second. And the problem is they're sending a lot of packets over, and it wasn't really thought about how you distribute in a wide area environment.
Empath works with publishers to develop modified games just for internet play. To reduce latency, or the delay between sending and receiving information packets, the network sends game data ahead of other kinds of data, such as email. It all helps to provide players with a sense of immediacy.
So to facilitate low latency, real-time interaction, you have to have a controlled environment on the internet.
There is a social side to this type of tournament play as well, and internet cafes have helped create the right environment.
We are trying to provide a mechanism for people to congregate and come together and entertain themselves. So I think sort of combining the physical space with the virtual space is just a nice way to sort of bridge those two worlds.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Giles Bateman.
Well, if you're a gamer, there's nothing more exciting than the anticipation of a hot new game, and the one everyone's been waiting for is Diablo. In fact, when Blizzard Entertainment posted an online notice saying it was looking for 1,000 beta testers, nearly 250,000 gamers applied, and all 1,000 tester slots were filled in the first 3 minutes. This is your baby here, Diablo. Why is there so much excitement about it? What's so cool about this game?
Well, the cool thing about this game is that it's a genre that's been neglected for quite a while, and we're really putting together the newest technologies to make this, to revitalize the role-playing game segment. It is a multi-user game, so you can play over the internet with your friends. There is incredible replayability because the dungeons and items and monsters are regenerated randomly each time you play.
Every time you go into a place, it looks different.
You'll never play the same game twice.
Okay, now you're the guys who did Warcraft, right? So
yes.
You've got a little bit of a reputation out there for doing good stuff. Let's take a look at Diablo, and just what's the story here, Max?
Okay, you start out with a character. You can pick either a warrior, a rogue, or a sorcerer. I've got the warrior queued up here.
Okay, so that's me in the middle of the screen.
That's you in the middle of the screen. We've made the interface real easy to use to expand our audience, not just to hardcore role-playing gamers.
So I just walk over to this guy?
You point and click. You walk around the town and you interact with the characters in the town. Sure, we can talk to the blacksmith here and buy items, sell items, repair items. I'm all set up to go, so let's go ahead and walk towards the dungeon. Leave the shop.
Okay, so we've talked to that guy and we're going into our first dungeon now.
Yes. And all throughout the town, there are different people you can talk to. There's a witch that sells potions. There's the blacksmith. There's people who will heal you, and various things like this. Now, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to come up to a man outside the dungeon here, and he is going to provide us with our first quest for Diablo.
All right, there's some poor guy lying on the ground there.
Please help. I barely escaped from the butcher. He killed my wife, my children. I beg of you, in the name of God, avenge them.
So we know what the job is here.
Now,
go find this rotten butcher and kill him.
Exactly. Okay. The ultimate goal of the game is to kill Diablo, but along the way you're given more manageable tasks.
All right, so you're loading up the first dungeon right now?
Correct. And I don't know what.
And you don't know what it's going to be because every time it might be different. We mean different look, different environment, different characters?
A different complete layout of the dungeon, completely different monsters. All I know is that there's going to be a butcher down there somewhere and various other monsters that I'm going to run across.
So just because you may have played this room before, it doesn't mean you're going to see it the same way again.
Not at all.
All right, so what's going on here?
Well, I've got my dungeon here. Here's a door through which I'm likely to find some danger.
And you just happen to know.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to open the door. Whoops, and it looks like we have some skeletons coming. And let's go ahead and draw them out here and engage in combat.
Down one skeleton.
Now he has dropped a spell book. That'll come in handy later.
Okay, so you can use that stuff later.
Yes. Now I can zoom in on this also if I want to get a better look at the combat. Okay, he's dropped a scroll. I'll probably be able to use that as well.
All right, so you're going to beat these guys up, get the stuff they have that's of value to you.
Yes, and
All right, now if I'm playing in the multiplayer role now, who are the other guys I'm playing with? Are my friends, my allies, or what?
They are your friends, or they are strangers who you meet on Blizzard's Battle.net. You can play, anyone who has access to the internet will have free access to Battle.net. It is not a service we charge for. You'll be able to play with your friends or people you just meet at any time, 24 hours a day.
Diablo. All right, thanks a lot, Max. All right, if you play computer games, you get stuck sometimes playing computer games, and one way to get unstuck is to log on to a good game website. So let's turn now to our webmaster, Giles Bateman, for a look at some websites for the dedicated game player.
Thanks, Stuart. Although there are a number of classic video games, we often find that the latest games are in fact some of the greatest games out there. You'll definitely want to visit GameSitter.com to keep up on what's the latest in computer games. What they have is a whole list of things, everything from previews of new games, reviews of existing games, shareware and things to download, plus tips and tactics and different cheat codes if the tips can't get you past your obstacles. Next of all, you'll definitely want to check out TenNet. This is Total Entertainment Network, and what they do is provide a way for you to play some of the popular games, such as Quake and whatnot, with other people over the internet. For instance, Duke Nukem is on that list. I'll click here. And from the Duke Nukem page, you can find information on how to play Duke Nukem over 10. You can actually download the shareware of Duke and get a little bit of a review so you can find out what the game's all about. Now, last but not least, you'll definitely want to check out File Factory. File Factory is a service of TenNet. If you just click on the start right there, what you will find is updates to all the latest versions of the different games you have. So even if you bought a game in the store, there may be an update for it on the internet. And how do you find out it's there? Go to the File Factory.
Thanks, Giles. Time now for our weekly summary of the latest internet and computer news. Here's this week's Random Access Report with Lori Anderson.
In the Random Access file this week, Apple Computer has agreed to buy Next Software for a total of $400 million. This reunites Apple with its co-founder Steve Jobs, who started the company 20 years ago. Apple hopes this acquisition will give them the software technology it needs to revamp the aging Mac operating system, which will be based on NextStep. Jobs will work part-time at Apple to help lead the effort. Prodigy has joined CompuServe and America Online in their court battle against Cyber Promotions for sending advertisements via email to their subscribers. Prodigy has received a permanent injunction against Cyber Promotions to stop sending the online ads under the Prodigy name. CompuServe obtained a similar restraining order last October. If you didn't get the computer you wanted for the holidays, here's something to consider. Apple Computer has announced a mail-in cash rebate of up to $450 for U.S. consumers who purchase a Power Macintosh 7600 or 8500 computer. The rebates will be valid through January 19th. Think you need a loan to pay off all those bills you racked up over the holidays? CompuServe and Beneficial National Bank have announced Online Loan, an interactive service that allows eligible consumers to get approval for unsecured personal loans of up to $10,000 in under 2 minutes. If approved, a check is mailed out the next business day. And finally, with all the movies being released this time of year, how do you choose which one to see? The new website Reel.com is designed to match movie buffs to the films they'll most want to view. Reel.com lets you search movies by title, category, ratings, as well as theater versus rental. Complete with descriptions and reviews, Reel.com is designed to take some of the guesswork out of going to the movies. That's it for this week's news. Back to you, Stuart.
Now for my pick of the week. We have focused on software today, great computer games, but what hardware should you play these games on? Well, you can use any PC that meets the minimum requirements of the game, but if you are a serious gamer, you might want to think about this baby. This is the Mach 5 from Falcon Northwest. Now this is the primo computer optimized for game player. The basic model comes with a 166 megahertz Pentium, 16 megs of RAM, 2 gig hard drive, and 8x CD-ROM drive, dual game ports, high-end joysticks, 2 game pads, a built-in 3D accelerator, great sound as you can see and possibly hear. Everything in this baby is tweaked for the demands of today's multimedia games. Now, the Mach 5 also comes bundled with tons of software, including 15 games and dozens of net tools and utilities. This is one mega computer. Every one, by the way, is custom built to your specs. Price for the basic model around $3,500. So if you are serious about gaming, virtually all the gaming magazines agree this is the machine. It's the Mach 5 from Falcon Northwest Computer Systems. Well, that's it for this week's Computer Chronicles. We'll be back here again next week with more of the best in computers, CD-ROM software, and the Internet. And if you want to find out more about anything you saw on today's show, just check out our website at pctv.com. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and we'll see you here next time.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by SoftSource Incorporated, publishers of Pro One software, educational software for young adults. And by Upside, the business magazine for the technology elite. To order a videotape of this program, call 1-800-916-PCTV. Please ask for tapes by show number and title. And for more help in keeping up with the fast-changing world of personal computing, order the Chaffee Letter. Each month, Stuart writes in detail about topics covered on Computer Chronicles and includes his commentaries on the technology that directly affects how you use your computer. To subscribe or for a free trial issue, call 1-800-916-PCTV. The Chaffee Letter, your solution to information overload.